Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Bill Kerbox, and we're live today with Bob Lachance. Now, Bob happens to be president and owner of Reva Global, but to be honest, that has very little to do with the topic and the information we're going to be dissecting today. I brought Bob on. We've actually, off camera, been reviewing the data regarding the labor statistics, and it tells a really very drastic story in terms of the economy and being able to get quality employees. I'm going to let Bob jump in there. Bob, good morning, welcome. What's happening out there? I'm looking at the stats. They're unbelievable. How would you dissect that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this. We've been talking about this for a while, you and I, and just looking at some of the statistics. And obviously, I have a virtual assistant company, and we're getting, inundated with more and more clients on the real estate side that are looking for individuals to do tasks for them. And that prompted you and I really to dig in deep to see what is going on, all the way from the West Coast to the East Coast, the north, south, everywhere. And it's been incredible. It goes back. I mean, you go back to 2020 when COVID hit, and looking at some statistics, the labor force was 600,000, people smaller than prior to that. So if you look at some of those statistics, and you really dig into it, several million smaller if you adjust the increase in population from that time. So really, to put this in more context, you go to 2021, more than 47 million workers quit their jobs. So if you look at the individuals that quit and you dissect why, I know you made a good point, right? A lot of them quit because they wanted more work-life balance, they wanted more flexibility, they wanted increased compensation, and they wanted and this is important, I hear this more and more, I don't know if you hear the same thing, but they want a really strong company culture. So out of looking at all of those, different types of avenues and the number of workers that quit, it makes it more advantageous, obviously, for a virtual assistant company like myself to offer services. I know for me, so just to give you a little background, and I know you know this, yeah. I'm also an agent, but I also have a real estate investment company and a virtual assistant company. And for me, trying to hire for my real estate investment company has been more and more difficult because of all of those reasons. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing. I know you got your finger on the pulse.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, so we've got, it seems like the perfect storm. A lot of this government was printing money, people were getting money, then they're sequestered, and then now it's time to go back to work, and they don't want to go back to work, and they want more money. And all of this is just creating a tidal wave of problems for anybody in business. But we got another thing we haven't really talked about, the Great Resignation, right? Yep. 47 million workers quit their jobs in the last 2 years. And so when you add that to this growing number of people that, they didn't want to go to work, they were getting these checks, right? And now the government's talking about printing more money and giving out more money. And so the workers are demanding higher salaries, which is obviously contributing to inflation. Personally, I moved from California for many reasons, but California has AB5. And the unions put that in place, very thoughtful. 70,000 truckers, who is really a independent contractor business, have now been really almost forced out of business. The drivers don't want to go back to work. The employers can't afford to pay it, and it's kind of a disaster. But we have that same thing in California with every employee. So if you're in the real estate sector, medical, whatever, you may not want to be entangled with the state of California on all of the fees, all of the requirements, red tape, higher cost. imagine this. I mean, you want to hire someone to go to work. First thing they want to know about is a vacation date, right? Then they want to know about healthcare. They want to know about this. Listen, those things are fine. This isn't a political conversation. But at the end of the day, my decision was to work with someone that was interested in working, that we're happy to pay through your company a good going life rate, a living rate, but we weren't involved. We weren't interested in getting into that mess. So if you're hiring in the real estate sector, a real estate assistant, you may be paying easily $4,000 to $6,000 a month, where you could have someone from, for example, and I'm using your company, a real estate assistant that is doing the same job. I mean, I've gotten really good at remote, and I'm working with my Reva assistant. I'm getting ready to get another one because they work so seamlessly. And but the reason for this call today was to not just even focus on real estate, but to really put in perspective what's happening and to talk about some solutions. So let's just say, Bob, that obviously you're not delivering manpower. There's a big difference. What would you say to that real estate company that is struggling with making the calls, with doing the marketing? You've got other industries that you may want to touch on. What would you say to their need for your services?
Well, aside from the need for services, I look at small businesses, right? We're all small business, real estate professionals. It doesn't matter if you have a big team, you're still considered, I guess, a small business. And we have to look at every single penny that's going out of our pocket. You have an interesting market right now. You have interest rates rising a little bit. So you need more abilities to find those listings, to find those buyers, which means you need more time back in your day, because you can't consistently. I know for me personally, I literally, when I first started this business, I would hammer the phones, I would door knock, I would skip trace, I would do all of that. And that's a recipe for burnout, right? So, and again, I started back in 2004, a little different world, right? Now I had to change the way I did business, which now I do things a lot smarter with, phone work, with using technology like text messaging, with using, my virtual assistants to call the Bills buyers list, to get sellers, to gauge their seller motivation. So I don't have to do that anymore. You look at, and you actually were talking about a little bit about the labor shortage. And one of the important things that I think we all have to look at, especially as real estate professionals, is, a number that was pulled up is that 3 in 10 workers said if they actually had to go back to the office, that they would resign.
That's 30%.
Right.
Wow.
And that's just a stat that I actually pulled off. I know you and I spoke a little bit about this, but you look at those particular numbers. I mean, hey, I'm feeling it here in my real estate investment side, right? In my company here, right? Not in my virtual assistant or my agent business, right? So if I'm feeling it here in Connecticut, you have individuals feeling it all over the place. Like you already touched upon California. We won't get into that, but it's happening in Florida. It's happening, Mississippi. It's happening everywhere around the country. So these are national statistics that actually we really have to look at, especially as real estate professionals, because we are small business owners. We 100% can't stop what we're doing, because once you stop, listings stop, buyers stop, right? All of that stops. So we have no choice, but as real estate professionals, just to keep going, right? So we do. We're hard workers. We understand how the game goes. You got to build a team. You got to recruit agents. You got to do all of that stuff, even if you're a brokerage. So that's just to add what you were just asking, Bill.
Yeah, I when we first started talking, my thought was that most agents are so busy, and I know I've been in real estate 39 years. I'm doing multiple businesses now, but you never had a vacation. You were taking your business on vacation.
Right.
You were up in the office in your bedroom while your wife and kids are at the pool. I would say that's a prescription for disaster. So everything that you were talking about, from a lot of the daily dozen, the prospecting, keeping the database and all that, that's critical. I used to tell my wife, this is my favorite thing. I tell her, I feel like Lee Iacocca changing tires. Because I'm doing a lot of these things, and I've slowly, control people like to, really do all that. But when you find someone that you can trust, and working remotely, and it's just a little infomercial from my experience with working remotely, is that it gets easier and easier when you get that relationship going. And, WhatsApp and text messaging and email and Zoom, it's seamless. Sometimes I'm on my phone. I literally have been in a stand-up paddle board on the water here in Florida, on with my virtual assistant, live reviewing content that he then posted through my social channels.
Right.
Try and bring your assistant out on a thing. So it works. Well,
and Bill, let me add to that too. So I don't mean to interrupt. Let me add to that 2 seconds. We literally just had I got a phone with a client. He had an in-house individual paying $30 to $40 an hour, and he just called us up. He said, "Listen, Bob, this individual no longer wants to work. They got a higher paying job. What can you do for us?"
Crazy.
So this just got off the phone with him today. So this stuff happens all the time. I mean, we know as small business owners, a lot of us can't afford to pay $30 to $40 an hour, right? You can't, and to consistently do this. So, virtual assistants are a third of that, right? So you just start looking at the investment that you make. And these are 4-year college graduates as well. So it's just take a look at that. That's the only thing I say. I know it works for me in my business, and I do this on a daily basis. So, we did over 166 transactions last year. We're set to do over 225. So I'm a good example of using our own product or own service, I should say.
Got to.
Yep.
Well, we're gonna end it here. People, you can respond through the live chat here on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. Let me know. I'll give you Bob's personal number. By the way, that's what I love about Bob. I can pick up the phone and call the boss, and that's the way I run my business, And so I have the time to do that now because I'm using Bob's services. So thanks everybody. Bob, appreciate seeing you.
Thanks again.
And hopefully we'll hear back from some people that we can help on the path that we both found.
Awesome. Thanks,
Have
Bill.
a good one.
Appreciate it.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks everybody.